This video is brought to you by Patreon provider Josh.
Hello and welcome. This is an unboxing that's technically not an unboxing, because as you can clearly see, there's no unbox to remove the scope from. So instead of it being an unboxing, this is going to be more of a walk around, despite the fact we're not actually walking around it. Anyway, this TRIJICON AccuPower 1:8 by 28 is courtesy of Patreon provider Josh. So Josh, thank you very much for sending this in for review. When Josh had reached out to me a couple weeks ago in regards to this scope, I was very excited to get my hands on it, because not only was I pretty impressed with the last AccuPower that I had, but this is also a first focal plane 1:8. And instead of this being green illuminated like my last 1:4 was, this is red illuminated. So I'm going to see if this is actually any brighter to my eye than the green one was. First thing I notice is the weight. This thing is not light by any means. It's almost 26 ounces, and that's pretty heavy. But this is a 1:8 first focal plane with, as you can see, target turrets. Also adding to that weight is the fact that this is not a 30mm tube, this is a 34mm tube. So what that should allow is a little bit more light transmission, because this is also a 28 front objective as opposed to a 24 on most 30mm or a 20mm on 1-inch tubes. So if you're looking for an uber lightweight LPVO, this is probably not it. But anyway, let's start at the back like we normally do with a fast focus eyepiece, which is very smooth, despite the fact this scope has been loved a lot. You can see there are marks all up and down this thing. It looks like it's got a healthy coating of dust on it, but that's just, I guess, sun fade, because I've wiped this thing down. I cleaned it up as best I could. But you know what? It's just a good testament to see if this thing works flawlessly to TRIJICON and how well they build their stuff. Also, this is made in Japan, in case you were wondering, which I always do. But enough. Fast focus eyepiece. Very, very smooth, almost too smooth. This is so smooth that when I go to put the gun in or out of the case, I'm wondering if this thing is constantly spinning. I actually just had that problem recently with my Razer HD Gen 2. Very sunny day out the other day, first day of spring, and I'm looking through it. I'm like, okay, I take some groups. I go back, I load some more magazines. I go back on. I'm like, why does the reticle look like it's off a little bit? It turns out the brim of my hat was actually coming down and touching this and spinning this ever so slightly. So as the gun got hot from the sun, everything expanded, and this thing was like felt like it didn't even have resistance on it. So that's one of the reasons why I don't like fast focus eyepieces. But nevertheless, this is very smooth and has absolutely no wiggle to it whatsoever. Fantastic so far. Moving on to the magnification ring, you can see that we clearly have a nice little throw lever, just like the 1:4 that I had reviewed, which is honestly a good enough size that you can use it without being too big and getting in the way, or too small and your fingers are just going to slide off of it. 1x comes in at 12, 8x comes in at around 6, so 180-degree rotation for your magnification ring is completely standard. No surprise there. In typical TRIJICON fashion, this is extremely smooth from minimum to maximum magnification. No hiccups whatsoever. No weird noises or anything like that. Fantastic so far. I love the little throw lever on this. This is all you need, like Vortex and other such companies. Something like this is literally perfect for 90% of the people out there. Going to the illumination knob, you can see we have from 1 to 11 with off in between. A little bit of play, but again, this thing is pre-loved. Again, a little bit of play, but it requires a good amount of force to turn this, but it's not impossibly hard, but the detents are just that sharp. Let's take a look under the battery cover. So a standard CR2032 battery. The cap has a nice spring right in the middle, keeping positive pressure on the battery, which is also in one of these cage style mounts, which I like. It's not tight, but it's better than nothing. The negative side terminal has these nice two springs to put pressure on it. So all in all, I would say this compartment is pretty robust. From the illumination knob, we're going to move to the rather gigantic turrets. As you can see, this is a 10 mil per rotation turret, and these are locking, so we should pull up. First off, let's see how well they lock. No wiggle whatsoever, very, very tight. Let's lift this up. That's a fair amount of resistance on there, and let's listen. Fantastic. You do have elevation indicators showing you how far you've come up, which is a nice touch. And this feels really, really good. These are what I would consider target turrets. Very sharp click going into each detent. Perfect amount of resistance. Once you're there, you're there. Fantastic. These are almost too nice to have on an LPVO. Lock it down, and that is secured and tight. That ain't going nowhere. Let's see how the windage turret fares. Again, locking turret, left, right, which should be standard on every single optic ever made, but it's not. Lift this up. Good amount of resistance again. Let's have a listen. Fantastic. These are almost too nice turrets to have on a 1 to 8 LPVO or an LPVO in general. And with that, let's take a look and see what this thing looks like.
From the second you first look through this thing, you know it's going to be good. You see a little bit more of the scope body than I particularly care for, but look at those cables. There's almost no distortion there. The image is big, it's bright, it's open. Keep in mind there's a 30-yard power transformer. As we take the magnification up to 6x, you can see the first focal plane reticle really come to life. Note this is a milling reticle. There are no drops to it. Max magnification here at 8x, and despite the fact we're at 30 yards, it still looks really good. And here's the best thing. The illumination is daytime bright, and it looks absolutely fantastic. I wish the illumination on the green AccuPower 1-4 that I reviewed a long time ago was this bright, because at that point I probably would have kept it. Focusing our attention real quick on this 400-yard steel door, at 8x the image looks sensational. The reticle mixed with the illumination, with these turrets and the brightness and the image, everything about this thing is fantastic. But this is not your standard LPVO. Your standard LPVO is designed to be lightweight, compact, and easy to use and quick. Ideally set up with a BDC reticle that matches your ammunition for your gun, so this way you can get on target, zoom in, calculate, and shoot. This scope, however, I really feel is set up more for the DMR role. 1x per 100 yards should mean that you can take this out on practical size targets at about 800 yards. And with the reticle, the turrets, and the image quality so far, I think that this can absolutely fit that role beautifully. Add in a good 1x and good illumination, and you can use this thing effectively from 0 yards to 800 yards and dial in precisely for it. Or at least, so we're going to find out. So that's going to conclude this unboxing for right now, or rather, first look walk around if you want to say that. A huge thank you to Patreon provider Josh for sending this in for review. I'm so far completely sold on this thing, and I've only had it for a couple of days. I cannot wait to see what this thing is capable of. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. See you again next time. And a very huge thank you to all of my Patreon providers. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. If you'd like to help support the channel but don't want to join my Patreon, I completely understand. But you can still help support by using my affiliate links in the description below. Thanks again for watching.